Welcome to I Wrote That, a podcast where we bring authors and industry experts together to talk about all things books and make the journey to authorship just a little bit easier. My name is Larissa Soehn, and I am the CEO of Next Page Publishing, a hybrid publishing house where we help entrepreneurs write books to grow their businesses. Now, I'm on a mission to help aspiring authors feel like they are in control of the publishing journey and that they are supported by a team of experts who genuinely want the best for them and their books. If you are in the very beginning of your journey, or maybe you have a manuscript that you've finished and you're not sure how to get it out into the world, I encourage you to reach out to us at nextpagepublishing.net. You can schedule your free discovery call and find out how our team of experts can make your journey to being a published author easy, smooth, and successful. Now, without further ado, let's get on to our next amazing guest and make your journey to authorship a little less complicated. Welcome to another episode of I Wrote That, and this is the final episode of season 4, which is incredibly exciting because this is a bonus episode to set you up for the Christmas holidays. And I'm excited to have Douglas Weissman here today because he and I have been connected for well over a year at this point and have been sharing stories of what it takes to write multiple books with an agent, without an agent, the feelings, the ups, the downs, and all of it. So we're going to dig into it today. This show is really dedicated to you authors that are going through the grind, that are looking for the support, or either you're writing or you're trying to market your books and you're desperate to just find the solution. Douglas and I are going to talk about, well, first we're going to commiserate with you because we get that feeling, but we're also going to give you some tips on things that we do to market our many, many books. So I'm going to introduce myself because I am amazing. My name is Larissa Soehn, and I am the host of I Wrote That and the CEO of Next Page Publishing, where we help entrepreneurs write books to grow their businesses. Now we have Douglas Weissman here. He writes stories of friendship, finding beauty in the grotesque, of finding magic in the mundane, stories about building bridges, about burning bridges, about growing trees, about turning trees into bridges, and all the ways strangers find common ground. His new novel, Girl in the Ashes, was released on April 16th of 2024, so congratulations to you, and follows Odette, a serial killer living in occupied Paris in World War II. Welcome, Douglas.
Thank you. It's good to see you and talk to you in this facet again. It's been a while.
It has been. I know you and I went through a publishing or a bestseller campaign in, oh my gosh, February, March of last year. So like forever it feels like. And you and I have both published books since then. So why don't you just introduce yourself a little bit and the journey that you've been on as an author?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially since last we talked. As an author, I mean, it took me so long to even commit to being an author, commit to that space of I'm going to write books, and that's all I want to do. And granted, it's not all I do. I do many other things, but writing books is really the passion, and therefore I follow that passion. But it wasn't until I was in college that I was like, all right, I'm committing to this. And I pushed it away for so long, that desire to write. So after college, it was like, okay, I'm going to go to grad school. I'm going to commit. I'm going to focus. I'm going to do this thing. And then it took me 11 years from when I started my first book to when it actually got published. And I think the phrase I've been hearing a lot lately is book of the heart, right? It's the one that you just keep coming back to, that you can't escape. And it's the one that you're going to push out into the world no matter what. And that was the last book that you and I had worked with and trying to get out there and market. And when I was on your podcast the first time, and that came out in 2022. It was called Life Between Seconds. And it was a very different book than Ashes. Girl in the Ashes is a lot more thrilling. There's a lot more blood, and which seems to excite people. It's kind of true crime meets World War II fiction meets the gray morality of what can somebody do? What limits can they push before they're unforgiven, right? If they're doing the wrong thing for the right reasons, how far are you going to let them go? But as an author, it took me a long time to get to that space, to feel comfortable pushing those limits and to feel comfortable going into that really dark headspace.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming out at the end of the day and being like, okay, 4-year-old, let's go to the park.
Yes, that balance between parent and dark evil master of worlds is a blend for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you and I were talking before, and I kind of alluded to it. Like I want to talk about marketing because you said your day job is marketing. And yet when we come to our books, like mine too, I market my publishing house, right? And I do it all day, every day, in and out. And then I come to my books, and I just had someone on LinkedIn ask me, "Hey, what's your first book about?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I got a clue. I mean, I can make it up, but when it comes to marketing your books, now you have 9 books out in the world, so you are spread quite thin. How do you approach marketing?
That is such a great question and still a difficult one to answer. And like you said, like we were talking about earlier, I do travel writing as a day job in a marketing department for a travel company. And yet I still have difficulty focusing in on how am I going to market my books? How am I going to write about them in such a succinct way that I can provide a one sentence response to somebody saying, "What's your book about?" Right? And what are those key nuggets that I feel are going to entice them the most? And that's the angle or the approach that I have. If someone's going to ask me something about Girl in the Ashes, what is kind of the elevator pitch is the key thing, right? What is so with the elevator pitch, it's always about what are just the key things that will excite somebody about the book. So World War II Paris serial killer, and I think that's what it takes, right? As
Mhm.
opposed to trying to say, oh, it's about Odette and the relationship she has with this guy, but they're kind of on and off again, and he's pining for her, but she doesn't really want him because she's worried about her dark secret and him finding out, and then the relationship she has with his mother and spinning out. And it's like,
Yeah.
yes, there are all these things that I feel are part of the overall story, but getting into the weeds is not going to help somebody get excited about the book. And really the last thing I want to do is when they say, "What's your book about?" And I say, "Well, how much time do you have?"
So
But
one
then,
minute pitch, 5 minute pitch. What can I do
yeah,
here?
it's like I'm going to tell you the movie on this. Like I'm just going to take you through. But with the marketing campaign, I feel like it's all about, and this is the hardest part, I think, as a writer for me, and also as a person who doesn't want to feel like I'm only talking about myself, going on social media, reaching out to podcasts, reaching out to blogs for guest posts, newsletters, for guest posting, and being like, hey, let me just continuously talk about myself, post this, post this, post this, post this in different ways, try to get readings, try to get myself into bookstores and even hand sell, which is exhausting.
Hmm.
Going to a Barnes and Noble or going to a local bookstore and sitting there for 3 to 5 hours at the door and just trying to slam my book into people's chests and be like, "Hi, I'm a local author. Nice to meet you. You're gonna love this book. Let's talk about this." And then either be ignored or have to engage in conversation, or I mean, no matter what happens, it's exhausting by the end of the day, and all I want to do is like eat a giant cookie and fall asleep.
Hmm.
That's usually what I do at the end of the day anyway.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I get that. It's a lot of writers are introverts, right? And we write because it's solitude and it's creating imaginary worlds in our head where well, I'm never in control of the worlds I create in my head. Somebody else always is, but I like to pretend that I am. And then to get into the marketing and realizing, oh, you actually kind of have to be an extrovert to do this. It throws a lot of people off, and it leads authors down this road of feeling like failures because their book isn't selling or because they're tired. And I kind of the one thing I've learned, and if you re-listen to the beginning of the show where I said I'm awesome, that is that I have adopted that mentality because of being an author,
yeah,
because of having to talk about myself consistently over and over again and pitch myself, because you're not just marketing your books, you're marketing yourself.
yeah,
And so if you can
exactly.
walk into a room with your head held high and be like, I'm awesome, people gravitate to that because they want to be around awesome. Yeah.
And
It's,
they also won't really care about what your book is about when they hear you talk or they talk with you. They're just going to think, I remember that awesome person, so I want to
Mhm.
see what they've created.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Like you're selling the whole picture, which is really hard for a lot of authors to understand, is it's not just your story. And you've done some really cool marketing strategies. You're still quite active on TikTok, are you not?
I was, and I'm going to be again. So
Okay, by the time
out
this
for
episode
me.
comes out, he's going to be back on TikTok.
Actually, yeah, that's 100% true.
Perfect. So you were reading snippets of your book from Life Between Seconds. For sure. I haven't seen anything from Girl in the Ashes yet. But how is that to me? That is so cool. Like that's what brings me in from a marketing strategy because one, as an author, I do like to read what I've written. And because it reminds me that I'm a good author. Like I like my story. And my passion comes through when you're reading it. But what drew you into that particular strategy?
I just didn't know what else to do. That was the crux of it. I saw so many authors out there that already had big followings on TikTok or Instagram, and they were doing something typical. I mean, they were talking to people who were asking questions, or they were just posting something about their daily life. And I had such a small following of, say, family and friends, and kind of approaching this space that was uncomfortable to me because it's not that I was always on Facebook. It's just that's where I was because that's the only social media I was pretty active on years ago, and thought, well, I need to branch out from this because it's not where my audience is, especially with the growth of Bookstagram and the growth of Book Talk and all these things. It's like I need to be in that space. So how am I going to do something a little different? And I thought, okay, I'm just going to read my book, and
Hmm.
I'm going to every day, well, every day, 5 days a week, excluding holidays. I was posting just one page. I would read one page a day, 5 days a week, until I was done with the book. And I thought, well, this is at least 261 pages of content right here.
Hmm.
So I don't have to think about the next thing. But then when I finished the book, I'm like, well, now what am I going to do? I have
Hmm.
this next book. I haven't started reading it yet, though, because I actually took a poll amongst Facebook people to see if I should, because it's a lot bloodier. uh,
Mm.
Literally. I mean, in the first chapter, I think I say blood like 20 times. And it works in context. It's just I wasn't sure if I wanted to put that out into the world where people just stumble upon it as opposed to choosing to
Hmm.
interact with it. But enough people said, no, you definitely should do it. And they really liked, as similar to you, like it's really interesting to watch somebody read their work page by page on socials. So I'm going to start doing that probably soon. So when this airs, I would have already started doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So you can
Yeah.
go to his TikTok handle and find that. And I'll probably include that in the show notes so you can go there and interact with Douglas because it is entertaining. And I think there's ways. I worked with an author one time who refused to show her face. She wrote under a pen name. She didn't want to be known, and because she wrote gory, like BDSM type writing, and she had a day job and kids and a family, and she's like, I don't really want to be known for that. So all her posting was faceless. But you can do that and do voiceover. Like
Yeah.
you can still hit it. And that might be even more engaging because now it's like a little video reel and it's exciting. And with the way AI is going and video creation is getting easier and easier, you can buy, subscribe to a software and ask it to pump out, give it the prompt, like this is the scene I'm going to be reading, create me a 30-second video and I'll read over top of it. Like AI is helping us a lot when it comes to marketing. Actually, that's actually going to be my next question. Do you incorporate AI into your marketing strategies at all right now?
I do in small ways. I have definitely attempted to do kind of the thing that you're talking about, like including movie trailer or book trailer, excuse me. Like, how can I create a book trailer that's going to garner some interest? But every time there are just certain things that aren't there yet. And possibly because, oh, a 5 second loop of this one thing and you just see a weird face. You have to be really specific. And when you can be, uh, this is an odd thing to say. You have to be really specific about your prompt and yet general about the vision that you have for what you expect to come out of it. And mainly, there was a big thing with Sora. When Sora came out, which is kind of that big name video production that everybody was talking about a few months ago, which is why like Tyler Perry stopped his expansion of his production studio in Georgia because of Sora came out. I was listening to the creator of the movie who used Sora, and he said, "Oh, the reason why we didn't have an actual face and the guy just had a balloon was because we couldn't get Sora to make the same face twice."
Mm-hmm.
So if you're thinking, how can I make faces, or how can I have people arguing, or because most people want to read about people and therefore, or at least entities that have human connection, if the machine can't make the same thing twice, well, how can I create something that it can continuously make the same thing? And I had that issue when trying to do a book trailer. So I was like, well, I won't do that. But going for like snippets, going for word choice, going for create a log line or create an elevator pitch for me. This is my book. I know what it's about, just so I can change things up, but still have that connection and still have the meaning and still have it appropriately relatable to my work, as opposed to just a word salad that so often
Mhm.
comes out. So I still put in the work and still put in the time to address these things, but AI just helps me expand it. So instead of spending an hour on one thing, I can spend an hour and have 20 things.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really interesting because like even with this, there's so many ways to multi-purpose our content now. Like the interview that you and I are doing right now, we're going to split it out and create 20 other pieces of social media content from one 30-minute interview
Mhm.
thanks to AI. Like that, you know, a year ago would have taken a full day of work, and now we're able to piece it up. And I know a lot of authors are afraid of AI. And rightly so. We should be afraid of AI. AI is learning at a rapid rate, and it's creating things that thankfully are still noticeably AI, but it's going to get to the point where like it could start tricking us into thinking that it is human generated. But there is a spot for AI in an author's life, to make our lives easier, especially when it comes to the marketing. Attention, all aspiring authors. Are you ready to turn your book dreams into reality? Look no further than Author Allies, your ultimate companion on the journey to becoming a published author. Picture this: a membership site that offers structure, accountability, skill development, and unwavering support to bring your book ideas to life. That's exactly what Author Allies provides. Dive into weekly writing workshops where you can focus on your goals and stay motivated. Need expert advice? Our monthly Ask the Expert sessions connect you directly with industry professionals for valuable insights. Engage with fellow members through our Beta Reader Switch program, perfect for refining your manuscript before publication. Get access to a list of our verified resources so that when it's time to edit, design, and publish your book, you know where to turn. You can also enhance your craft with our writing training modules. Complete the exercises designed to elevate your skills and participate in the challenges. And as an added bonus, you can enjoy exclusive discounts on our future programs to help you streamline your publishing services. And if you're looking for a little bit more personalized advice, you will have access as a member to our one-on-one coaches to provide tailored support from our experienced professionals. Your literary dreams are within reach within our community of like-minded authors and expert guidance. Visit nextpagepublishing.net to join the membership and create a community around you and your book that guarantees your success. Okay, I'm going to switch gears now. I want to talk about your journey to publishing. You published multiple books through a publishing house. And I actually do want you to talk about what that looked like, because you were giving me the insight to it before the show, and it was fascinating. So tell us a little bit about what your relationship with the publisher is and how it led to 7 books.
Yeah. I didn't have a previous relationship with the publisher, but this is one of the benefits of going to an MFA was for me. And I'm not saying it's great for everybody. It's just I was able to come out the other side with a connection from my MFA program with this publishing house looking for a specific subset of writers who were interested in writing books that the publishing house created ideas from. And that's called a book package, where the publishing house has the main idea for a book or a series of books, and they basically pay a contracted fee. You can always negotiate. Like if I had been more known at the time, maybe I would have had an idea of some royalties on the back end, but this had a very specific target. It wanted to target reluctant readers of ages 13 to 17. So that target was 1, YA, and 2, they wanted it to be a little more risque, right? A little more sexy, a little more, youth, melancholy, these types of things to fit in there to make people feel seen, relatable, but also to get into schools and public libraries and school libraries where they would be recognized by that subset of youth. So they came to the idea of orphans in San Diego, post-climate change world in which the world freezes over. They hijack a cruise liner. What happens? And I said, okay, well, I basically gave the breakdown. It was kind of like a pitch, right? They're gonna kind of test me out and see if I'm good for this series. So I came up with the pitch of, all right, well, that's book one. And then book, two, three, four, five, and six are going to be about these things each, give a little breakdown of each, the plot points that I'd hit based upon what I feel the direction the book should go, while also fitting in some milestones that they had in mind. But there were some that I thought I pushed back against. Like there was, and I even shared this with you earlier, one concept, or the main concept, was at the very end, the main character wakes up and it was all a dream. And we were like, no, 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 that's not happening here. But all the other things we were able to hit, including kind of the world shifting gears and but what happens when a bunch of teenagers are stuck on an island together with no supervision? Of course, things are going to take place because they're teenagers. Hormones are raging. There can be actual rage versus just sexual tension. So I pitched it to them back. I pitched it back to the publishing house as Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome meets Lord of the Flies.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, this is perfect. That's a great idea. But I still had to come up with 6 book concepts under the main umbrella of what they thought. And then I had 6 weeks to write each book. So not 6 books in 6 weeks, but it was 6 weeks for book one, 6 weeks for book two. And then as I'm writing the new book, an editor, a developmental editor, looked at what my first draft was, came back with notes, and I had 2 weeks to address those notes while still writing the next book. The whole thing took just over a year. And then
Oh my
all 6 books came out at one time. And so there wasn't this like build up. And I honestly didn't know how to market it, what I should do to market it, if I needed to market it, because I have this publishing house that was the whole kind of shebang. They were the ones who contracted it. They got the revenue from it because I got the contract. I just had the money from the contract. And then they were the ones that were supposed to be going to libraries. So I didn't really talk about it much. My family bought some. I don't know who else bought any after that. And I didn't really pay attention to it. And
Mm-hmm.
then a similar thing happened with my 7th book. They were same publishing house, similar concept, but rather than doing one author for all 6 books, they wanted 6 authors for 6 books for the series. So they gave me one of those books, and that was a new adult. Those guy, girl, other in college, and what happens next? Their first year of school, right? What happens? And that was same thing all over again, but just with one book instead of 6.
Wow. And I know when people come into my programs, we give them about 5 months to write their book. 6 if you include the months that we give them for planning. And they're like, whoa, that's really fast. And I'm like, it could be worse.
And now here's an exact example that you can give them of could be worse.
Yeah, but there is power in moving like that, because you spent an entire year working on your writing career, and a lot of people have this goal for their entire life that they're going to write a book, and they've spent 40 to 60 years thinking, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to write a book, and then they don't do it, and then they're on their deathbed and they're like, ah, shit, I didn't write the book. But when you partner with someone like you in the publishing house, me as a publisher, when you partner with someone, there is suddenly that fire under your ass. Get moving. We need this. You have a deadline, and
Yeah.
magic happens when there is a deadline. Now, you and I had talked about that first book feeling too, and I have it, and a lot of people do have it. Now, you did have a partner. I did not have a partner for my first book. I wrote it solo, and then I partnered with Vanity Press, and that was all icky. All around, that was icky. But talk about even if you did have a partner, but you were still writing it alone. Like
Yeah.
there was no beta readers, there was no feed, there was no time for any of those things. You got one round of dev editing, and then that was it.
Yeah.
Looking at this latest book that you've published, what is the difference between book 1 and book 9?
Oh man, so much. I mean, one, with this latest book, when I read it back, I don't cringe. But I'm incredibly happy with the outcome of book one and the experience I had. And it was such a learning experience. But when I do look back at it, I see the plot holes. I see the lack of character development. I see the areas that I could have bolstered with it, and including in that space, because it was a YA book or a YA series, but I didn't lean into it enough being YA when I should have and I could have. And that makes me feel like I could have done so much better if I just had had more time to provide that mental acuity to these things that I know are not there now. But when I'm churning it out then, I didn't really have that ability. Where with my book now, with Girl in the Ashes, because I could take my time, because I was able to do more research, because I was able to have multiple rounds of edits, it feels fuller, it feels more fleshed out, it feels like my voice, it feels appropriate for the space that it's in, which is historical, which is a thriller, true crime, all these kind of this crossover, but it feels appropriate for that space, as opposed to if I just said it's a YA novel. This doesn't really feel like that if somebody picking it up expecting to have that and just not finding what they're looking for. But I mean, again, I learned so much from that first book experience, that first published book experience, that I would not change for anything, especially because it taught me how to write a book fast. Where
Mm-hmm.
now I can still write a book fast, but I know I can take my time in the revision process.
Mm-hmm. And I think you and I are very similar in that. And that's what we try and tell our first time authors is that going fast does help you a lot because it keeps you motivated, it keeps you going, it keeps you on track. And the entrepreneurs I work with, they're doing 20 things at once, like
Yeah.
all the time, right? It's constantly chasing the circus monkeys around and trying to corral them. Like it's exhausting. And so when I say like I need you to give me 5 months, 5 months, and we're gonna write this whole book, and then you get 4 more months of editing. And I don't think a lot of authors understand that. Like they think, oh, the first round, once I'm done the first round, I'm done.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, no, sorry. Doesn't quite work that way. So we're coming up to our last couple of minutes here, and I want to make sure we already talked about connecting with you on TikTok, which is going to be great. Where else can readers find your books and find you?
Well, for my books, they can find them at Barnes and Noble. They can find them on, of course, Amazon. They can find them on bookshop.org. Life Between Seconds, you can find in Target, which I always just feel
Ooh,
hate it. Target has it. Girl in the Ashes is, again, all the same places: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, bookshop.org. Then me, I am most active on LinkedIn. I usually post about writing and staying inspired and staying motivated and kind of my journey as a writer, what it took to write Girl in the Ashes, or what it took to write Life Between Seconds, and how I continue to go on this journey. I'm also on Facebook. I am on Instagram and TikTok, where I will be posting when this airs. I will have posted one page again. So me reading one page of Girl in the Ashes as I go. I'll just give you now, it will have all the trigger warnings. So if you are not into that, just be aware now. But you will be able to find it. And that is the journey that I will continue doing. One, because I like reading my work. I hope other people like
we
hearing.
write, we don't speak. It's okay.
Exactly. Right. We already talked about this. It's exhausting to be social. But it is fun to be on these spaces and be able to have conversations. And I always love when people reach out. So please come find me.
Absolutely. Okay. And last question, favorite question of mine. What advice do you have for aspiring authors?
Get the crappy part out of the way. So for me, I do 10 minutes. Girl in the Ashes was written 10-minute sprints over the course of a year. And it was 10 minutes a night. That's all I did, 10 minutes. And it became a game. Like, how much can I write in 10 minutes? How many words? Or can I get this entire scene written in 10 minutes? Or how many characters can I stuff in this one scene and still give everybody a voice in 10 minutes? But it's all I had the mental capacity for after having a day job. I have a family. At the time, my daughter was about 2, 3 years old, and that progression. So it was exhausting watching her, wanting to give her that attention that she deserves and craves, and that I want to be part of. But at the same time, 8 o'clock rolls around, she's in bed. Do I have any more mental bandwidth to write? Well, 10 minutes, I can give myself 10 minutes. And
Mhm.
then it might not be good. It shouldn't be good. And that's fine. Because as you mentioned, it's not going to be like the first thing is not the good thing. It's when you go back and revise that it becomes better and better. And if I give myself that 10 minutes, I can get the crappy part out and then go back and make it better. And so revision, I am not the first person to say this. I don't remember who said this. It is obviously an author who writes a lot, but basically the book comes out in revision, not in the first draft.
Yeah. I call the first draft is usually a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
and it does get better. So like book 1 is a dumpster fire. Book 7, by the time you're getting up there, it does get better. And you can do a lot of things to help yourself in that, like having an alpha reader. Our coaches act as alpha readers, experienced alpha readers, obviously, but someone who's reading as you're writing and giving you feedback. And sometimes it's just giving you the confidence to keep going. Like, yeah, that 10 minutes wasn't a total waste. Or, hey, that kind of sucked. You might want to try.
And it's okay if it sucks.
And it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. That's going to be the title of this episode. It's okay if it sucks.
Don't let that fear.
Uphill.
That's what stops people, right? That fear. It's going to suck. Sure. Let it suck. You can make it better.
Yeah. It's something that's never existed in this world before, and it's not supposed to be perfect the first time. It's supposed to suck, and it's supposed to get better, and you're supposed to find the people to fill your circle to make it better with. Yeah.
Boom. Mic drop.
Mic drop. All right. Thank you so much for everything, Douglas. We're going to make sure to put all your links in the show notes so people can find you. They can find your book. And because this is our Christmas special episode, you can grab the murder mystery because you want to get a little murdery over the Christmas holidays, because family can do that to you sometimes.
Yes.
So let's just have an outlet planned and ready to go. So we'll make sure those links are in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of I Wrote That. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our show so you don't miss any of our upcoming guests. And if this has led you to some inspiration to want to get started on your own authorship journey, whether you just have an idea or you have a manuscript that you're ready to publish, reach out to us at nextpagepublishing.net, and we will match you up with our team of experts to make the journey simple, easy, and smooth.